Ever since 1791, the Second Amendment has been considered to be a backbone for this country. This amendment provides every U.S. citizen the right to keep and bear arms. Now, while some laws might be beneficial and even necessary, this amendment provides every U.S. citizen their own right to home defense, home invasions, recreational shooting, and even if the government went ever to turn their back on their citizens, which is actually one of the bigger reasons this amendment was written in the first place. Now, some in the U.S. could consider owning a gun or buying a gun or shooting a gun. Some could consider it to be almost a rite of passage. And for some numbers, right now about 125 guns per 100 people in the United States, which is almost 400 million guns privately and citizen owned, which is actually the highest per capita in the world. For comparison, Canada has around 31 guns per 100 residents. Mexico was around 15 per 100, and China is only about 5 per 100 residents. And even though Mexico has substantially lower numbers than any other country in the world, they actually have one of the highest gun violence related countries in the world. I think it's in the FBI's top 10 most gun violent countries in the world. Now, spending 5 years in the Marine Corps and owning and buying rifles and handguns and shotguns and a whole lot of firearms, and spending the time in the military and traveling the world, I'm pretty comfortable and confident with different laws and regulations within those states and even countries. So I feel pretty confident in at least explaining my opinion that these gun laws being restricted will not reduce gun violence completely. Now, this topic in the past couple years, or even in the last decade, has been considered extremely political, as it is a big topic in presidential debates. As in the media, we only really hear about gun control when there's mass shootings or higher number of homicides and murders than usual. And being an overly sensitive subject, I'm actually giving this speech to hopefully catch your attention and persuaded you that just banning guns and gun accessories will not fix the real underlying issue. Now, in 2018, a small arms survey indicates that out of 1,000 adults, 44% of them live in a gun household. But the exact number is unknown because there's no federal or central registry of actual guns owned by private citizens. Now, annually, around 30,000 gun deaths occur annually. And since gun control, like I said, is brought up when there's mass shootings and things like that, there's actually an FBI statistic that says out of those 30,000 gun deaths annually, only 100 of them come from mass shootings. In a state like Chicago, where it has, I think it's top 5 out of the 50 states, it's within the top 5 for the most strict gun laws and regulations in the country. And just in 2020, they had 4,000 shooting victims. And within the country, out of those 30,000 annual gun deaths, 56% of them were ruled suicides, and 40% were ruled homicides, 4% are undetermined still, and in between 1989 to 2014, less than 0.5% of gun deaths were related to mass shootings, less than 0.5% between those 15 years, which is pretty substantial. Now, one thing I can compare this to a lot is, it's also an argument I hear about quite a bit, is banning guns will not prevent the violence, because there's actually significantly more deaths a year from car crashes than there are guns, but we don't ban cars. Now that's a pretty vague, and it might even be seen by some as like an ignorant statement, but and even alcohol, people die annually more from alcohol than they do guns, and we don't ban alcohol. And just, I think it was 2019 or 2020, there was actually one of the biggest laws in Maryland history that they tried to propose a bill that would have Marylanders register their firearms, and depending on the firearm, it would cost up to $1,000 to register that firearm. And for a lot of people, that was extreme taxation. It was extreme, like I said, extreme taxation. It was just outrageous for the hundreds of thousands of gun owners in Maryland, and they refused to be taken advantage of by their own government, and because of this bill was not passed. And this is a perfect example of we as people can stand up to the government to an extent for now, and protect our Second Amendment. And after hearing this speech, hopefully you will have swayed your opinion on gun control, that just simply banning guns will not solve the issue. Criminals and motivated individuals will find their ways around these laws like they always have in the past, and we need to get to the root cause or underlying issues that cause these individuals to take violence up to gun violence and murders, etc. And it is up to us, the people, to preserve and protect this right.